Welcome to Across the Arc, where we dive into the extraordinary work of Equity Arc members that are leveling the playing field in classical music. This episode features VIA Academy, a free and hybrid summer music program for musicians from remote and underrepresented communities. VIA Academy was founded by New World Symphony alumni Chris Robinson and Corbin Castro as a full virtual program in 2020 when summer study opportunities were few and far between. They are now entering their fourth season and offer a hybrid program, 1 week of virtual programming, and the second week is hosted in Miami on New World Symphony's campus. In this episode, I spoke with VIA Academy's co-founders, Chris and Corbin, about the power of mentorship, the secret to the recruitment strategy, and the successes and challenges of developing and scaling an equity-based program in the 21st century. I wanted to begin this conversation with having y'all share a little bit about VIA Academy's philosophy and general approach to equity.
Sure. So VIA Academy, we started in 2020 out of New World Symphony while both Corbin and I were fellows. And it was obviously during a time when there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of questions about the future. And it was when, the world was kind of like going through a lot of stuff all at once. And Corbin and I got together and we shared a lot of ideas about VIA Academy. Well, at the time, it wasn't called VIA Academy, but was just an idea. And there was so many things that we saw during our own time, learning our own instruments, being in the classical music field, where we felt like could change, could be improved, could be better. And especially for young people and people going and trying to pursue a career in music, who were really interested and hungry for information and a life further in music and what that would look like. So we were talking a lot about this and things that exist currently, things that don't exist currently, things that we wish we had. And I'm originally from Kentucky, and there was a lot early on that I didn't have access to just geographically. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And, I might not have figured that out unless I found someone in my life who really cared enough and saw and believed in me enough, where they made a point and took the time to say, Chris, I think you need to go here. And I think you need to speak to this person. And I think you need to get more involved in this other place that's not here. I think if you really want to achieve the things that you want to achieve, this is how you're going to have to do it. And I always think about that. And I always think about, if I didn't have those kinds of people in my life, how would my life look different in music? And so that always kind of stuck with me for a long time. And then as I went teaching and being a part of other programs, I realized how there were larger barriers to access to education and quality music education than what even I experienced. So it made like a lot of all those ideas and with Corbin's past experience in his life as well, we brought those together and created VIA Academy, where we try to break down every single barrier there could be to, quality classical music education. And we believe we do this in a way that really helps each individual student and really try to tailor that curriculum specifically for the needs that they have. So that's a little bit about how we view equity in general and how it really incorporates into the program we have.
So a lot of what Chris said, obviously, is exactly what we do here at VIA Academy. But I kind of want to highlight a few points that he made, which is that this program started at a time of uncertainty for everybody. And one of those things was for the music industry. And we wanted to create a high quality music education program that was poised to move through this new reality that everyone was facing. So that period, like that was the origin of the program as far as like the curriculum matter. And then we said, but who is this for? And when we had that conversation, we took a look at the classical music industry as we knew it from our perspective and from our life experiences. And we knew immediately that this program needed to be for students who were underrepresented in the classical music field and for students who were remotely located from educational opportunities in this country, because we knew we were creating something that was going to be extremely high quality and something that was going to be different from other educational opportunities out there, as far as taking a really honest look at the state of our industry and finding ways to prepare students to really be successful and think creatively about what kind of career path they wanted to take in the beautiful field of music. And we wanted to share that with the students who were going to be the faces, the next generation of this field. And we know that that is going to be students who have been historically underrepresented in this field, but won't be for long. And we wanted to share that with them. And so that's how we look at equity and how we came to define our program and the people that we serve.
That's wonderful. I'd love for you both to share more about that tailored curricular focus that you're both describing. You have a very unique, comprehensive, and holistic approach. I know there's entrepreneurship that's involved in different focuses like that. So I'd love for you to share more about the offerings that you have for the students and what led you to really focus on those specific areas.
Yeah, so it was middle of the pandemic, and I think even before 2020, it was kind of obvious that a lot of educational institutions' focuses were narrow. They were very much on, an orchestral career, a chamber career, or a solo career, which are three fantastic careers that Chris and I are both pursuing as well. But there's the reality of the classical music field is that it is so varied and so colorful as far as things that you can do. And so our curriculum celebrates that and explores that. And so we do have two sides to our curriculum. So the first is more familiar. That's going to be the nuts and bolts of the students playing. That part will be encouraged through master classes, lessons, studio classes, and other opportunities that are just really about the technique of playing your instrument and being excellent at that. Then there's the other side of our curriculum, which is 50% just as much as important as what I just described, which is where we start getting a little bit different from other programs, which is going to be the one-on-one mentorship, where every student has multiple opportunities where they meet with their teaching artists. And these teaching artists are folks who are extremely connected in the classical music field to discuss what these students' ideas for themselves are. What are their interests? What are things that they have thought about maybe doing? And then also, maybe you haven't even considered all these other opportunities that exist within classical music because they just maybe weren't presented to you. And then through that, come up with a plan to move toward that goal that they create with their teaching artists. So that is where the mentoring comes in, this part where you really get to talk to the student about their aspirations and their dreams, which is, it needs to be a separate time from just talking about like the technique and having a traditional lesson. And so that's one part of the other half of our program where this mentoring happens. But also there's another portion of our program where we encourage each of our students to create a project for their own community using their talent. And that is also designed with their teaching artists, so that they are guided through the process with a worksheet to create a project where they benefit a local community. So, for example, if they have a library and they really want to support that local library with their talent, perhaps they create a benefit concert for that library with their friends, and they raise some money, and then they donate that to the library for whatever, maybe perhaps new books or some event. And that is a part of our program where the student gets to see how their talent can be used right now to create impact in their world. And our students take those projects and just run with them. It is one of the most amazing things to see when we let the students know that this is an opportunity for them, and then they just run with it and create these amazing projects that at the end of the program, we get to select to actually fund with a small mini grant from VIA Academy and additional coaching to really make the project come to life. But we emphasize that the students don't need to win this little mini grant in order for the project to happen. Every project is designed in such a way that it could happen without that additional award. And Chris, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about a little bit of our entrepreneurial classes and those offerings that we have as well.
Thanks, Corbin. Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to all these projects and a lot in doing these projects, like they have to build like a budget for it. They have to figure out, what the success looks like. What does, if it's successful, how does that feel? How do you know it is? Those kinds of markers, they have to really, understand and know while filling out this worksheet that they work with their teaching artists on, which I think is fundamentally just like an incredible skill to build as a person, especially as an artist. And I think it puts the focus less of like perfection in like our playing and just like trying to be the most perfect player possible for themselves, but it's also about like why are we doing this? Why are we even spending so many hours in a practice room and like not hanging out with our friends and like creating other memories this way? Like why do we have that life? Like what is the point of it all? And I think that's a big part of VIA's mission, is to really like show and help students see for themselves the meaning of music in not only their lives, but everyone's life. And I think through this entrepreneurial lens that we have in our curriculum, it really highlights that. It really builds this sense of purpose within each student, where it's like, I have this unique ability to create art, to create something creative that I own. But that ownership of it can benefit all these other people around me that I care about, that I love, that I want to see improve. And that's such a powerful thing for a young person trying to think about what they do with their life, what they do in the next step. That's such a powerful aspect for a student to understand and comprehend so early on. And we want to provide that for as many students as possible. And something beautiful that we see with our students is that they take these skills and they apply them to other parts in their lives, and they continue to build upon them. They don't just do it in our program and then that's it. They hold on to it. I just got kids text me all the time on like Instagram and stuff, just to like, they're like, oh, Chris, I just did this really cool thing. And like, it's the most incredible. I love getting those kinds of, kids reaching out to me later on, because they'll send me things. Like just the other day, this student texted me. He was talking about how he's like a composer and he's really interested in works that don't get played often, or composers that don't get played enough. And he created this entire concert, not only with like some of his like other musician friends, but actors and dancers. He created a whole concert on his own. He went out, he emailed his local library. They had a space for him. He created a whole program. He had rehearsals for it. And he did this literally at like zero cost. His brother likes to make videos. So he like did all the videography for the concert. So he has a nice video of it too. And so it's just like this really incredible aspect. And he incorporated all of his friends in it. And it's just like an amazing thing that, like, you know, this is why we do music. This is the reason, like, that's it. Like to celebrate all these different aspects and bring people together, create more communities around it, and share together all the incredible, you know, qualities that music provides. So then, like, that I think is just like one thing about VIA, that with all this entrepreneurial training, because we also teach them how to fundraise. So if they don't, you know, potentially get the mini grant, they have the skill to go and you know, figure out how to raise a little bit of money to put on something. And if they also, you know, something that we make very clear is that after the program, if you have questions, you don't know how to get over something, or it's like, you know, you reach a brick wall, Chris, Corbin, and all these teaching artists and guest artists are here for you. Like, we're not just gonna go away. Like, you're part of the VIA family, and you'll always be a part of the VIA family. And so we get, you know, people reach out to us and say, hey, like, I need help with this or this college or this, you know, this project or whatever. And we're happy to help. And that is something that I think should be built in a little bit more in educational models, just like not having a barrier to access to people, just to like feel like basically having the feeling that I can't contact you because it's not in a formal program or in a formal thing that I'm a part of. Like, there's some kind of weird, like, door that they can't open because they're not inside the same room as them. I think there's a lot of students that feel like that a lot. And if we can all just be a little bit more, like, I think, open to just like helping each other at all times, because like their success is also the industry's success, right? It's like, you know, we have to celebrate every single person and that process. So the more that we can just be open and willing to help, I think, is another aspect of VIA that really helps students, you know, not only in our curriculum, but afterwards too.
One thing I'm hearing about as this overarching theme is the role that mentorship is playing with these students. And as musicians yourselves, I'm very curious to hear about the role mentorship has played in your lives, especially as you've been developing out VIA Academy. You have achieved so much already in such a small amount of time. And so I'm curious about some of the key mentorship roles that you've had as you are both to grow this program.
Well, we all need mentors, whether we're 2 or 55. So I think, you know, Corbin and I have been extremely lucky, especially during our time at the New World Symphony. A big part of the curriculum at New World is to celebrate entrepreneurship and this kind of impact that an individual can have in communities, and specifically using music in very unique ways in order to create change. And I think that's something that New World saw pretty early on, and Corbin and I, and they really helped connect us with people who could mentor us in our, you know, journey so far with VIA Academy, help us with some skills that maybe Corbin and I aren't the most familiar with, and especially build upon those skills and help us really see and ensure success every single year for the program. I think anything that you try to create, anything that you want to do at this kind of scale, you can't do alone. There's just like one person can't do it, 2 people can't do it all. And it really does, you know, take a village. in order to create a program like this. And I don't think it would be possible unless we had, the kind of support and help that we did, and mentorship and funding and all the different aspects that we were able to have through our own network, because it wasn't just parts of New World. We really reached into our network in a big way, like higher education. Sphinx program helped us with connecting with people, and just like really looking back in our own lives and seeing who were the people that helped us. How can we go back to some of these people and just really tell them what we're trying to do, what's important about this and why it's important, and see what kind of things that they can help us with in this journey of VIA. And so I think that's like for anyone that's trying to start things and has an idea but not sure. I think that was so important for us, especially early on. But even today, just like having someone that we can always have access to for their own experience, because I think experiential knowledge and these kinds of things are just so important.
Yeah, and I also think that Chris and I have been fortunate to have mentors who have identified our unique qualities, which I think is what mentors do, or at least very helpful mentors have done. So like, for example, when I was growing up, having people who saw something in me, who identified that to me and said, hey, you have this unique talent, and I believe in you, and here's what I think you should do to take that to the next level. Our most effective mentors have been the ones who have seen the differences between Chris and I, because we do have a fair amount of differences, but saw those as complementary strengths to each other, and identified those and said, hey, you're good at this, he's good at this, and then you guys can combine that. So when Corbin, you're having this low and Chris can step in and do that, that's fantastic, or vice versa. And I think like that kind of mentorship is so important, like Chris was saying, no matter the age, because a lot of times we just need somebody to point that out for us to run with it and do amazing things. And so that's what we do with our students. And that's what people have done for Chris and I, both together as part of VIA Academy, but also individually as we were, getting to where we are now. So, I mean, mentorship is incredibly important. Yes, experiential knowledge. Yes, skills that they might have that we need. That's all fantastic, and to be shared is amazing. But I think the ability to identify the mentees' strengths and highlight those is one of the most powerful things you can do.
That's wonderful to hear about the role organizations like New World and Sphinx and the colleges you went to played in your lives, and then now this step of educating the next generation of musicians. I want to talk about the different equity gaps that the Academy is closing. Chris, you mentioned it early on that you're providing completely free access to musical trainings in the summers, and completely free, the travel, the food, the housing, everything. And not just that, I mean, when we were doing the common application for summer study, you shared that even if you didn't accept an applicant into the full program, you allowed everyone to be an auditor. And so all of this costs money. So what is the strategy that y'all are utilizing to secure all of that? And then also, do you recommend that other summer study programs take that approach of having an auditor? Or is this something that you think maybe is unique because you have the hybrid model?
Yeah, totally. So about auditors, and I think a big part of what we saw early on about auditors is, and we kind of stumbled upon this on accident actually, because on our first year was 2020, so like everything had to be online anyways. And our first year we had, I don't know, like over 260 applications or something like this, just because everything canceled because of COVID. And then we created something And it was like, oh, wow, I have an opportunity to do something this summer. And so everyone started applying to us. And we just didn't have enough to support some of these. Like, there were so many students that we wish we could accept, but we couldn't because like, I mean, there's only so much time that you can, and so many people that you can really accept into the program. So we thought, well, why don't we, we have this, we have entrepreneurial skills, we have all this like career pathway talk, we have, college prep things, we have health and wellness. And we thought, well, if we just identify the students and through our applications that really align with our program, and then there's some students that might not align so much with the program, but we think that they can still get a lot out of some of our classes. Why not just offer it to them? It costs us no extra money to just allow more people in our Zoom room. So why not just have them come? I mean, if it's going to benefit someone, benefit another young person, and maybe it will help them have a more fulfilled life. Maybe it will, or maybe it won't, who knows, but at least provide that opportunity for these students to engage with us and have that, experience to learn these skills. Because whether they go into music, whether they go into finance, whether they go into, they become a YouTuber or whatever they do in their lives, these skills are gonna help them in one way or another. And so, like, why not? So that was kind of our when we first started the program, that was just something we felt like, I think this is going to be a really important thing. And then, like, if you spell out VIA for, it stands for something, Virtual Inclusion Artists. And so with inclusion being in our name, like, why not have that as part of our model for, our program? And so I think that's one aspect of the Auditor program we really value. Another aspect is that there are some students that we feel might be, like, we talk a lot about future development. We talk a lot about how you see your future life in music, or what it means to you. And we feel some students may be a little bit too young, depending on how they express themselves in their essays and things like that. And so we want to show them, like, it's kind of like a recruitment tool in a way. It's like, hey, come get a taste of what we are. If you feel like this is something that you want a larger access to and want to apply again, you should. And so it's kind of built in that way as well. And we've had some auditors become full-time participants in our program, which is incredible. So that's something else that I think is really great about the Auditor program. And then about funding, in our first year, New World Symphony has a part of the curriculum for fellows that's called Blue Projects. And these Blue Projects are funded by New World. And so in our very first year, we were able to get funding for the whole program, which helped us a lot. First of all, it helped us create it in a quick amount of time, but also it allowed us to do it at least once. And so people could see that this has impact. And I think that is a really, really important part of how we secured funding in the future, because we could do it at least one time. We could show how it affected students and all those numbers and things like that. It was just so helpful for us to have that opportunity. And then afterwards, we were able to have, fundraising mentors and people that could help teach us that side of fundraising, and create these and cultivate relationships with people who would support a program like ours. And a lot of these people are from our time, in Miami, or other parts of our lives that helped us get to where we are today. And so also a lot of our funding does come from individuals, and it took us a long time. And it's not a fast, fundraising isn't something that just happens overnight. It's something that, for us, especially in something new like this, that hasn't, maybe not 100% exists in the world. There may be qualities of VIA that exist in other programs, but as a program like VIA there's not a lot that looks like VIA Academy in the world currently. And so it takes a while to really develop, and also from the end of Corbin and I to really understand as it develops each year, how do we make this, in 5 years, what will VIA Academy look like? And constantly having that kind of conversation, and then, it's making a story out of that, and allowing other people who support programs like ours understand and know the kind of direction that this kind of program is going. And so that's a lot of like kind of the funding side of how it started and how it got to be to where it is today.
Yeah, I mean, Chris pretty much covered everything. I would just say that our auditor program is something that we're extremely proud of, and you're absolutely right about it being because we are a hybrid model. And that's something that I feel that the virtual aspect of our program is a tool that we are proud to use, and something that our students get a lot out of, both our participants and our auditors, the ones that have the lessons and the ones who come to our guest classes. And so it is absolutely something that we intend to continue using as a way to increase access to our program, but also as a medium that we feel is uniquely poised to help our students get ready for that in-person week. And we think it's the perfect lead up for that, in addition to allowing those auditors to come in and join us and get a taste of our program in a meaningful way with the amazing guest artists that we have come through. And then, and as far as like the aspect of it being free, it was something that Chris and I knew from the beginning of the program that it needed to be something that anyone could come without any barriers for cost. And of course, it started online, so that was a little bit more straightforward when it was all online. But as we progressed to incorporate this week in Miami, we knew that it needed to stay that way in order for everybody who we wanted to bring to the program to be able to come. And so, we've just been very, very fortunate to have amazing, individual donors who really believe in our program, because we're relatively new. That's just the fact. And so it takes the kind of donors who really believe in us and our success and want to see that happen for this to work. And that's what we have. And we're very fortunate for that. In addition to we've run 2 small gift campaigns as well. And just, other people who maybe we don't necessarily cultivate a stronger relationship with on a daily basis, but who are just our friends in life, have also supported us. And so it's just been amazing to see the community support VIA Academy in that way, and the work that Chris and I have been doing.
I love it. Chris, you mentioned the next 5 years and some of the goals that you have. And so I'm curious if you could share some of those. And as you're looking to the future, I'm curious to also hear about some of the past challenges or obstacles that you might have had to overcome or in the process of overcoming.
Sure thing. So a little bit about the future. So we're going into our 4th year now, and it was 2 years online, and now going into our 2nd year as a hybrid program. And looking to the next 5 years, we're really trying to scale the program as we have been already. And obviously, the cost to scale online is a lot cheaper than scaling in person. But we are trying to allow for the capacity. So every year we're trying to gain at least 10 students in our capacity building for the program. So we hope in 5 years we can reach about 70 students for our hybrid program. And in addition to that, we really see the power of our community projects. We see a large aspect of that can really help and benefit our students. And we do hope to expand that program out further as well. And a lot of what these projects allow our students to have is not only, this access to a little bit of funding, but also it allows a long-term engagement with Corbin and I throughout the year and mentoring. And we hope to build out that year-long type of engagement with our students so that it's already kind of there in a way where we allow our students to always have access to us in terms of if they have any problems or things that they don't know how to go forward with. It's kind of already there where we offer that opportunity, but we really want to build the infrastructure of it. We want to make it so that if a student really wants this and wants to engage with us, or sometimes we have students that have only learned their instruments through YouTube and don't even have a teacher, and then they come to our program and they're incredibly talented, but if they go back to their community, there's still no access there. And so how do we continue to help these kinds of students that might not be close to a large geographical area where they can be a part of a pathway program or be a part of a community music program in their community? It might not exist for them. And so I think there's a lot of unique capabilities to our online learning that can really, really help some of these students have access to teachers, have access to learning that can really help them achieve their goals in life. And so this is a lot of how we see the 5 years and building out all this infrastructure. And really, it's just, we're continually trying to meet the needs of our students. Our students come in and there's so many things. Each student every year faces something different. It's never the same kind of things each year. It's always, a mix of qualities and just resources or opportunities that they just don't have access to wherever they're from, or maybe they might have it in their community, but they still don't have access to it because of financial barriers or whatever it may be. So this is a large part of our next 5 years. And there's more like alumni involvement, stuff like that we hope to incorporate also. But a lot of it is scaling the program and building a lot more infrastructure for long-term engagement.
Yep. And I think to add to what Chris was saying about the future, while we're scaling the program, while we're building the long-term engagement and things like this, we really are focusing on keeping the potency of our program, right? So that mentorship quality, that one-on-one aspect. You asked for past problems and I'm looking at a future problem. We're looking to make sure that as we continue to grow this, we're able to give each of our students the attention that our program is able to give right now, because that is what we believe makes our program so different. And we would not grow at the expense of that. So that's something that we're really thinking about. And then for the past, I feel like something that we have been growing with is the reach that we have with our students. So we started out by literally looking up, art school in Arkansas. Google that. Cool. Okay, let's find the leader, the band director of that school. Let's find if they have a public email listed. Cool. And we literally have an Excel spreadsheet with these that Chris and I did, and we would just send out emails and say, hey, we're doing a program online, and we would love it if you would share this information with your students. Here's a virtual flyer. And so that's something we've thankfully gotten a little bit more exposure with things like Equity Arc and other institutions to help get the word out about our program. But that is something that we are continually working with, and something that has been a challenge in the past, which is getting students that we want to, or that are the best fits for our program, to know that we exist and that we're here for them. And so that is something that we're continually striving to improve, that reach to our students. And that for me is probably the largest challenge from our past. I don't know, Chris, if you have something else on that one.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that too. I think that's always a thing that programs always have to try to really work on. And I think recruitment is such a big part of these programs, and just like making sure that you're continually trying to put a lot of effort into that, because it's so important for the success of the program, but also just to make sure you're really creating the most amount of impact that you can with your program. There is an aspects really early on in our development. After the first year, when it was successful, well, just to like put it in context, our first program was in late June of 2020. We decided to do VIA in April of 2020. So our first year, we had only a few months to create a curriculum from scratch, from zero. Create a curriculum, create all these, an idea, a name, a mission, a vision, hire teachers, hire guest artists, and create a program that students could be a part of. And those few months were really busy, and they were like very, very involved between Corbin and I, and just like trying to get the program up and created. And then after that, it was really successful. And then it was about like, well, now what? What do we do with this? How do we create this? What is it going to be? And will it always be online? Will it not always be online? And so there's just many, many questions with that. And it's always hard to, I think, when you create something, especially for the first time, and you're trying to do it again and again and again, really making sure that you're continually keeping the quality of the program as well, I guess Corbin already talked about this, but like keeping the quality of the program as you're scaling it and seeing the vision of it all, and really deciding as you're intentionally making decisions that really feed into the next year or 2 years after. Like, why is it important that we do VIA now, this year? Why is it important that we had the kind of students we had now, the kind of program that we had now? Why is that important for year 5? Why is that important for year 6? What does that poise us to do? So asking all those kinds of questions to ourselves and making sure that we're really always having that in our heads, that's always like quite challenging to do. And that's something that mentors really help us with as well, and other people, so that it's just not me and Corbin kind of going back and forth, just like having another person or like board members, things like that. But I think that's something that is always a thing that you would struggle with, and we struggle with early on, especially.
Interesting to hear that recruitment was what you both noted as a challenge, because as Chris, I've talked to you about this with the common application for summer study. For any listeners who don't know what it is, it's a free application for musicians of color to apply to multiple summer programs with just one repertoire list. And VIA Academy is part of it, and y'all have the most applications submitted through the common application. And so it's interesting to hear that that's something that's top of mind to grow that component. And because that is a stat that we have for y'all, I'm curious to what you think led to those numbers.
I think a little bit of luck, maybe. But otherwise, I think, there's a lot in our program, I think, that is maybe really unique. And I think especially with our entrepreneurial program and our projects and stuff like that, but also really trying to focus on the individual, focus on each individual student as themselves, and trying to tailor it to them specifically. I think that's a really important thing about our program that other students might find really refreshing, or maybe they might find something that they really want to be a part of and experience. Another, just in general, we have a lot of partners that we reach out to, and we're really thankful for. We have a great relationship with other summer programs, and they're really generous to us and sharing about our program to other applicants that they have that they might not have accepted, or who they just have on a contact list or something like this. And we're really thankful for that. And getting out the word about our program every year. We also, have a large presence in Miami, obviously, and through a lot of the other programs that we've been a part of in the Miami area. And so through all these different, networks and also other pathway programs that we have been in partner with or have talked to or developed relationships with, we reach out to all these programs and just making sure that, we're on the radar every year, and making sure that they share the information about our program to the students, because we want to make sure that any student that would ever want to be a part of a program like VIA, we want to make sure that they know about it so that they have at least that opportunity, because it's a free program, and we want to make sure that, anyone that would be perfect for a program or be really aligned for a program, we want to make sure that all of those students have an equal opportunity to participate in it. And the only way to do that is to get out the word about it. And you got to be really, really strategic about it, but you also have to be kind of relentless. You can't really stop in that. And so even before the applications come out, you have to start getting out the word and all that. And so it's a lot, I guess, in that sense. And just like making sure that all these programs really understand and know that, we're here, we're doing this. And, even though we let them know last year, we got to keep on, making sure to get the word out.
I also think the reason that we got a fair amount of applications is because we are different. I think if you take one look at our website and start reading the stuff there, students can easily get a feel for the fact that this program is maybe trying something a little out of the box. And so not only do we offer a curriculum that is, different in the sense that it's tailored to the individual student and offers a lot of mentorship aspects to it, we also have superstar faculty that students specifically apply because they want to study with some of the teachers that we have, in addition to the awesome guest artists that we have coming through. And the guest artists are the ones that just do the group classes, as opposed to the teaching artists who work with you throughout their whole time there. And our guest artists are people who are, we have a master class with a conductor who conducts all over the world and is like a rising star in the classical music industry and is also just like established and experienced. He's amazing. So there's like this aspect of we're doing something different. We have amazing guest artists and teaching artists. And then also on top of it all, it's a program that allows access by being completely free. And so I think those, in my opinion, those three things, if I was a high school student and I saw something like that, I'd be like, I want to send my application there, please. That's, so that's my opinion on why we got so many applications.
That all makes sense. I know we're approaching the end of our time together. So I wanted to ask you one last question, which is, it's a big one. So it's, what do you envision for the future of classical music?
I envision a future for classical music that is a lot more creative. So I think that a lot of what kind of schools are teaching right now for classical music is very, I already said, narrow. I think it's a very and narrow in the sense, not just like the ideas of what it can be, but like once you get maybe to one of those career paths, let's say orchestra, that's it. You get to sit down, you play orchestral music, and that's it. And actually, I think first of all, it goes beyond just being an orchestral musician. I think that there's so many, there are going to be so many artists who are creating their own ideas, their own chamber orchestras, unconducted orchestras. Maybe they get together with their friends and, have a chamber group together. I think the field is going to be a lot more varied as far as what artists are doing in it. But also the groups themselves are going to be doing activities that go beyond just sitting down and playing the music. I think engaging with audiences and working with folks who maybe haven't historically ever come to concert halls before and taking music there, in addition to the people who are going to be playing the music, I believe are going to be more representative of the communities that the performing groups, whatever those performing groups might be, are located in. So like, whatever the demographic of that community is, will be represented in the performing body. And I think that that's extremely important. And so I just see a way more creative field where possibilities for having a concert that's based on a game show, like that it's like you're exploring these really wacky, crazy ideas that maybe, performing groups have never done before. I think that that's where this field is headed, because I think that that is what keeps audiences engaged and what keeps what we're doing relevant and exciting.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with Corbin. I think there's a lot of really incredible possibilities in the future for innovation, always designing and creating and cultivating new ways of reaching people with classical music. I think that the sky's the limit in that for our field. I'll also say something that maybe I'm not sure if it will be the future, but I hope to see it. I believe that change, positive impact can be viral. And I want to see that kind of quality in our field, that it's not just a few, it's just something that goes viral and everyone becomes so obsessed and crazy about is how we all can have an impact as artists, how we all can, create incredible change and positivity and just like this, more fulfilled communities all across the world. And I think that can be the future of classical music, is how we go into that and continually create change as artists and human beings.
Thank you, Corbin and Chris, for taking some time to chat. It has been just amazing, and I hope that our listeners will learn something from you both.
That concludes our spotlight on VIA Academy. You can learn more about all our members and join the coalition at equityarc.org. Until next time, let's continue to make progress towards racial equity across the ARC.